Heyo.
Hello.
Welcome
Welcome
back. I'm Olivia.
we always switched our order. I'm Amy, and
And
this
this
is
is Girls
Girls
Gone
Gone Spooky.
Spooky. Yay.
Yay. We'll get it one day.
We'll get it one day. Well, you guys, we recorded a different episode to share with you today, and then we decided to switch them. So
Yep.
if you're waiting on tenterhooks for the update on Mother Shipley, just wait till next week.
Yeah, on sweet old hag face.
Yeah, sweet hag
Yeah.
face.
Next time.
Next time. But it's Labor Day weekend, so that means scary stories because it's a
Yay.
holiday.
I know.
Ooh.
I love this tradition.
Me
It's my
too. It's a good
favorite.
one. Breaks
Mhm.
things up. Has you wondering, like, is this real? Is it not? I don't know.
Yeah,
Should we jump in?
I think so. Except, did
Okay.
you have a little update on something I thought I
Oh
saw?
my God, yes. Wow. Thank you for reminding me. So
Yeah.
we have a listener who messaged me. She is from the UK. Her name is Sally. Hi, Sally. And
Hi.
she was saying that growing up in England, Noel's House Party, the show that
Mhm.
Blobby was on, was like a huge part of her childhood. And she even went to Crinkly Bottom once, but doesn't remember it, was too young.
Wow.
But she shared this tidbit that is like actually so creepy. I really wanted to share. She says, Mr. Blobby was scary. Did you know they couldn't wash his costume because of the material? So everyone that worked with him said it stank. He could
Ew.
only say blobby blobby, and he couldn't say anything else. He was just going around going blobby blobby, and that's it.
Ew.
And then there was a song released in the mid 90s that is like literally Blobby bopping around with like kids like marching down. It's so 90s, like the outfits and the whole vibe.
Mhm.
And she sent it to me, so I will post it on our Instagram. But it is really very creepy because can you imagine like Blobby approaching you or you approaching Blobby as a small child and just getting this like reeking stench off of him?
No. Yuck.
So disgusting. So disgusting.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Well,
thank you,
what a good
Sally, for
update.
that terrifying little tidbit.
Yes, thank you.
And thank you for listening and liking the
Yeah.
pod.
How cool.
Okay. And now for our main attraction. So
Yes.
I have a few shorter ones. And so we're going to kind of break them up. I'll do a couple, and then Amy will do one, then I'll do another one.
Okay.
So this is from Mountain Drew 000. And this is on Reddit, but it's not from No Sleep. So I'll leave it to you all to decide if it's real or fiction. I got an Amber Alert saying, do not look at the moon. But thousands of people were texting me, look at the moon. It's beautiful outside. I woke up at 3 a.m. to an Amber Alert notification on my phone. Struggling to find my phone, I turn on the lamp on my nightstand and find it on the floor. The Amber Alert notification says in all caps, do not look at the moon. Please fall asleep and refrain from looking outside. I was a little freaked out by this. What could possibly be wrong with looking at the moon? I became even more confused when I realized I had thousands of other notifications. My eyes grew wide and I was awake fully at this point. I unlocked my phone to find WhatsApp, had a little red circle above it saying 99 plus. All of my social media apps had over 100 notifications. One of the notifications had said, look at the moon. It's beautiful outside. Must have been someone who had gotten the Amber Alert and wanted to creep someone out. But that's when I found out other notifications said, look at the moon. It's beautiful outside. That's weird. Another person said the same exact thing. I scrolled through all of the notifications and they all said that same exact thing. Look at the moon. It's beautiful outside. I was freaked out. I wanted to look outside out of curiosity, but was so creeped out I just couldn't do it. Maybe my phone was hacked? So I decided to text my friend to see if he was in the same scenario I was in. However, when I opened up his DMs, all of the previous messages were gone, and there was only one thing on the screen. Look at the moon. It's beautiful outside. I was bewildered. I had to have been hacked, right? I texted him anyway. Dude, what's going on? Did you get that Amber Alert notification too? About a minute later, he texted back, look at the moon. It's beautiful outside. That made me feel, that made me feel less like my phone was hacked and that there was something really wrong. The Amber Alert had told me to just fall back asleep, so I did. Well, I didn't, but I tried to. I felt haunted by those notifications. I just couldn't sleep. Finally, I got another notification. Ugh, it's the moon thing, isn't it? I mumbled under my breath. When I opened my phone, I was surprised to see a notification from my other friend. We'll call him Dave, who texted me. It wasn't the moon thing. It was him saying, hey, dude, you up? I got a weird Amber Alert notification and thousands of people are texting me. My eyes grew and I quickly sat up to text him back. Yeah, are you getting the moon thing too? I texted quickly. He responded with, yeah, I haven't looked at the moon. Have you? I responded, no, I don't want to. I'm curious though. He replied, don't look at it. I don't know what could happen, but it's certainly not a good thing. I decided to turn on my lights and close the curtains just in case. You know, I'm a curious guy, I texted. I almost feel like I have to. He kept telling me, don't look at it. It could be bad. He knows that I'm really curious and I'm also a very risky person, and he is very non-serious. He always dared me to do these risks, and like I think they mean like dares, and sees me as a daredevil, which is how I see myself as well. However, this time he's being very serious. That's how you know he's dead serious. I'm like, okay, we get it. He's serious.
He's serious. Yep.
What could possibly happen if I looked at it? Is it so bright it'll blind my eyes? There's not even any light outside. I don't even think the moon is out, I texted. This time I'm being serious, he replied. He's very serious. I couldn't take it. My curiosity was like they say beaming, but like they're very curious. I turned off the phone and I set it down. I walked to the window, opened the blinds, opened the window, and peeked my head out, looking up. The moon was beautiful, a pretty blue and yellow color, making it glow almost as if it were a rainbow. The moon was bigger and brighter than usual. It was the most beautiful thing I've seen in my life. My phone kept pinging, and I finally walked over to it with a huge grin and blurry eyes. It was Dave saying, dude, why aren't you responding? Did you look at the moon? I responded, texting him back using nothing but my index finger key by key. I said, look at the moon. It's beautiful outside.
No.
I knew you'd love that.
What's happening?
I don't know. It's really creepy though. Aliens. This one?
Oh no.
This next one really creeps me out. And it reminds me, remember of my girlfriend won't stop peeking at me?
Yes.
It's not the same. Yes, it's not the same, but it's called the Smiling Man. And it is gross in a similar way. Okay. This is from blue_title. The Smiling Man. About 5 years ago, I lived downtown in a major city in the US. I've always been a night person, so I would often find myself bored after my roommate, who was decidedly not a night person, went to sleep. To pass the time, I used to go for long walks and spend my time thinking. I spent 4 years like that, walking alone at night. Never once did I have a reason to feel afraid. I always used to joke with my roommate that even the drug dealers in the city were polite. But all of that changed in just a few moments in one evening. It was a Wednesday, somewhere between 1 and 2 in the morning, and I was walking near a police-patrolled park quite a ways from my apartment. It was a quiet night, even for a weeknight, with very little traffic and almost no one on foot. The park, as it was most nights, was completely empty. I turned down a short side street in order to loop back to my apartment when I first noticed him. At the far end of the street, on my side, was the silhouette of a man dancing. It was a strange dance.
Like that lady.
I know. It was a strange dance, similar to a waltz, but he finished each quote-unquote box with an odd forward stride. I guess you could say he was dance walking and heading straight for me. Deciding he was probably just drunk, I stepped as close as I could to the road to give him the majority of the sidewalk to pass me by. The closer he got, the more I realized how gracefully he was moving. He was very tall and quite lanky and wearing an old suit. He danced closer still until I could make out his face. His eyes were open wide and wild, head tilted slightly back, looking off at the sky. His mouth was formed in a painfully wide cartoon of a smile. Between the eyes and the smile, I decided to cross the street before he danced any closer. I took my eyes off him to cross the empty street. As I reached the other side, I glanced back and then stopped dead in my tracks. He had stopped dancing and was standing with one foot in the street, perfectly parallel to me. He was facing me, but still looking skyward, smile still on his lips. I was completely and utterly unnerved by this. I started walking again, but kept my eyes on the man. He didn't move, and once I had put about half a block between us, I turned away from him for a moment to watch the sidewalk in front of me. The street and sidewalk ahead of me were completely empty. Still unnerved, I looked back to where he had been standing to find him gone. For the briefest moments, I felt relieved until I noticed him. He had crossed the street and was now slightly crouched down. I couldn't tell for sure due to the distance and the shadows, but I was certain he was facing me. I had looked away from him for no more than 10 seconds, so it was clear that he had moved very fast. I was so shocked that I stood there for some time just staring at him, and then he started moving toward me again. He took giant, exaggerated tiptoe steps as if he were a cartoon character.
Olivia, no.
I'm sorry.
It's so scary.
I know. He took giant, exaggerated tiptoe steps as if he were a cartoon character sneaking up on someone. Except he was moving very, very quickly. I'd like to say at this point I ran away or pulled out my pepper spray or my cell phone or literally did anything at all, but I didn't. I just stood there, completely frozen, as the smiling man crept toward me. And then he stopped again, about a car length away from me. Too close, way too close. Still smiling his smile, still looking to the sky. When I finally found my voice, I blurted out the first thing that came to mind. What I meant to ask was, "What the fuck do you want?" in an angry, commanding tone. What came out was a whimper. What the fuck? Regardless of whether or not humans can smell fear, they can certainly hear it. I heard it in my own voice, and that only made me more afraid. But he didn't really react to it at all. He just stood there, smiling. And then, after what felt like forever, he turned around very slowly and started dance walking away. Just like that. Not wanting to turn my back to him again, I just watched him go until he was far enough away to almost be out of sight. And then I realized something. He wasn't moving away anymore, nor was he dancing. I watched in horror as the distant shape of him grew larger and larger. He was coming back my way, and this time he was running. So I ran too. I ran until I was off of the side road and back onto a better lit road with sparse traffic. Looking behind me then, he was nowhere to be found. The rest of the way home, I kept glancing over my shoulder, always expecting to see his stupid smile, but he was never there. I lived in that city for 6 months after that night, and I never went out for another walk. There was something about his face that always haunted me. He didn't look drunk. He didn't look high. He looked completely and utterly insane. And that is a very, very scary thing to see.
Yeah. That is very, very scary.
And I know that this is on No Sleep, but
it could happen.
I don't know. Because originally they said that originally they put it on a subreddit called Let's Not Meet, but I don't know. It like some of them are real and some of them are not. So again, I'm like, I don't know if that's real because I could see that being real, like a real encounter someone had. Because it's not like there was nothing paranormal. It was just creepy as shit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know what to think.
Yeah, people can be insane. And
absolutely. And really scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, very scary.
No, I don't know what's worse, actually. If it was paranormal or if it was somebody real, quote unquote.
I don't know.
Bad intentions.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't love it, though.
No, either way.
I do not love it.
I won't be going for any night walks alone.
Nope.
Anytime
At
soon.
1 to 2 a.m. in a major city, I think not.
Nope. No, thank you.
Okay, passing the mic to you.
Let's do another scary one.
Yeah, geez.
So, this is written by Ryan Matthews, and it is called My girlfriend talks in her sleep. She's been saying the most horrible things recently. So I picked this one because I talk in my sleep. And it scares Dave so badly. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you say scary things?
Yes. If I'm stressed out, like stressed during the day, and then I have dreams, I'll be like, "Don't you see him over there?" And things like that. And Dave's like, "I hate you."
No. Hell no.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's so scary, Amy.
Yeah.
Stop.
But I don't see anybody either that I know
Not in your waking eyes.
Yeah. So
anyway. Sleepy, creepy.
I'm a creepy sleeper.
Yeah.
But, oh well. Here we go.
We have to be creepy in some way to be doing this podcast, so it feels right. It feels natural.
It's suitable for me.
Suitable.
Yep. Okay, so he writes, I'm infatuated with her. Utterly infatuated. And it wasn't at a healthy level. Far from it. I would think about her every moment she was away. I would sometimes sit on my couch and just stare at my phone, waiting for her to text. I'd tell myself, don't contact her. Don't. It will come off too strong. But then I'd still find myself clicking her name on my contact list before my inner voice would continue. You don't want her to know how desperately smitten you are with her. It's unattractive. It will scare her off. No, you have to wait for her to call you this time. But it was excruciating and exhausting, almost unbearable. I once heard that the ancient Greeks believed that falling madly and irrationally in love with somebody was a curse that you would wish upon your enemies. I could never understand what they meant. After all, isn't falling head over heels in love the ultimate goal nowadays? But now that it's happened to me, I have to say the ancient Greeks were right. This is a curse. I was barely in control of myself, almost as though my infatuation with her had possessed me. The two of us were sexually active together, but still in the dating phase. We were at that make or break era of a blossoming relationship where we'd either have the talk and formally be in a relationship, or we'd start to slowly drift apart. The latter of which I don't think I'd be able to cope with. Honestly, I wouldn't be able to. Almost everything about her captivated me. The way she held her hand over her mouth when she laughed, how she'd caress the pendant of her necklace when she was frightened, how she'd twirl her hair in her finger when she was excited. All of it. Her smell, her smile, her eyes. Yeah, I know, it probably makes you sick reading about it. I feel the same way. I was never the hopeless romantic type, but now I can't stop fantasizing about her. I think about us doing the long 3-hour hike up to that magnificent view from one of our first dates, to that first kiss as we overlooked on the lights of the city. But this time I'd get down on one knee, bring out the ring, and, well, you know what would happen next. All right, fine, I'll stop. Yes, this is a girl I'd only been casually dating for a couple months. I shouldn't be thinking about proposing yet, and I know that. I'm just barely able to control myself any longer. I feel as though I'm losing power over the decisions I make. And that brings me to why I'm here writing this out at the moment. It started with the first real thing that troubled me about her. We'd never actually spent a night together. No matter how late she was over, once either of us showed signs of being tired, she'd up and leave. She wouldn't leave awkwardly or in anger, just a casual kiss goodnight and a smile and a call me soon. It was something I didn't really even notice the first few times she did it, but after almost 8 weeks of dating, it was becoming strange. I'd have to ask her about it. It took
8 weeks and they didn't ever have a sleepover? Jesus.
I guess not. Yeah, he waited long enough.
Yeah.
It took drinking almost an entire bottle of wine before I had the courage to do it. She looked almost defeated when I asked, and lowered her eyes in embarrassment. I knew this talk would come eventually, she started. She took in a deep breath with a long, drawn-out exhale. Recently, she paused again, I've started talking in my sleep. She shook her head in embarrassment. It's called somniloquy. I looked it up. I had never heard that before. I shrugged and laughed out loud. My demeanor seemed to say, "That's it?" "No, Stephen, listen," she said. She wasn't laughing. "It's bad. It's
Oh, God.
completely out of control. It's not just random words or gibberish. No, it's horrible. I say horrible, disgusting things."
Oh, my
She
God.
was starting to raise her voice, breathe heavy, and tear up. I approached her and held her. I told her it couldn't be that bad. I told her to spend the night. I told her she was probably exaggerating. I was wrong.
Oh, shit.
That night, she stayed at my house, but she warned me of something before falling asleep. "Whatever you do, don't wake me up. It makes me really scared and disoriented if that happens. And don't respond to me. Just ignore it." I nodded and agreed. "If it becomes too much," she continued, "just leave the room and sleep on the couch. I won't mind." I told her not to worry about it. I told her that it wouldn't be a big deal. I told her that I wouldn't leave to the couch. I'd stay beside her in the bed. But I was wrong. I couldn't even last one night. We both fell asleep without incident.
Oh, God. I'm so nervous.
I don't know how many hours passed, but I woke up in the dark with the sensation that someone was watching me. And then I remembered she was with me. She was actually spending the night. I smiled. But then I noticed the shadowy outline of her sitting up on the bed. She was looking down at me, staring. It creeped me out, I'll admit it. Her posture was entirely different. It was as though it wasn't even her at all. Then she spoke. It wasn't her voice that I heard. It was much lower and gravelly, like something out of a horror movie. "I'll chew the skin from your bones," she said. I froze. Yes. At first, I just kept looking at her. This was not at all what I expected. I thought it would be more like the way Tourette's is often portrayed.
Not
Just-
demonic possession. Yeah.
No. That my mind wouldn't have assumed that either.
No.
So,
Oh, my
yeah,
God.
assumed random swearing and shouting. I honestly thought to myself, what will I do if she attacks me right now? What if she really does try to chew the skin from my bones? But then she just lied down and went back to sleep. I was creeped out. I tried to lie back down and ignore her, but I struggled. I couldn't even close my eyes without thinking maybe she's sitting up again and staring at me. And then one time I rolled over to look at her, and she was.
Oh.
Her face was pressed right towards mine. Her breath was foul and rotten. Something that was most certainly not normal for her. She spoke again in the same voice as before. "If you don't move to the couch, you'll be dead by morning."
Oh, I'm covered in goosebumps. No.
Nope. I can't imagine somebody that you love doing this. Oh, God.
Even just
Okay.
the first part, but then the second part, bringing in things from your waking conversation
Yeah.
into. Oh,
Yeah.
my God. Oh, I like really am covered in goosebumps. That's
Yeah.
so creepy, dude.
Mm-hmm. Very. Kind of makes me like upset stomach.
Kind of
feeling.
sick.
I'm
Yeah,
like, ugh.
totally. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So she said that did it for me. I sat up in a moment and headed for the living room. She made some sort of wheezing sound as I left. I think it was supposed to be laughter.
Oh.
I was lying on the couch, but I wasn't going to be able to fall back to sleep. I was far too shaken. I was staring out towards the window, hoping to see the first few hints of the sun rising. And then I thought I heard something from the bedroom. I listened, and then I heard it. "Stephen." It was that same low and gravelly voice. I tried to just ignore it at first, but then it continued. "Stephen." Still, I
Oh my God, the
said
way you're
nothing.
saying it, Amy, you creeper. Oh!
Except I can't do low and gravelly. My voice is
No,
too
but it's
high. So
creepier the way you're saying it, I think. Stephen.
Stephen, it's like that.
Ew.
Come out here for mommy.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so she says, "I know you can hear me, Stephen. You're awake now. Why don't you come back into the bedroom?" The voice barely sounded human. Or maybe you'd prefer if I came to you. I still didn't say anything. I was told not to, but I listened. If I heard her start walking towards the bedroom door, I'm not even joking, I would have run right out of the apartment. But she had asked me not to respond to her sleep talking, so I didn't. And then I heard her once more. Sorry if this spoils your plans, she began laughing. The two of you were supposed to walk that trail again, she started. I wasn't even remotely prepared for what she'd say next. You'd both be so tired when you reached the top. You'd look over the city, then you'll get on one knee and bring out the ring. She began laughing. And that's when I realized this wasn't just a problem with sleep talking. It was something much more, something supernatural. I had never told anybody about my proposal fantasy. There is simply no way she could have known about any of it. This was no longer about merely talking in one's sleep. This was about possession. I can't go back into the bedroom. I have no idea what would happen if I did. Instead, I'm going to wait it out, holding up in my living room until the sun rises. I have a couple more hours yet. I can hear her laughing occasionally in the bedroom. It's still not her voice, still that same low-pitch cackle. But as I sit on my couch writing this out, here's what scares me the most. Maybe my infatuation and utter obsession with her wasn't normal. I said before that I felt like I was losing control of myself. More so, I believe, than the typical falling in love story. No, I fear that the infatuation I felt was the entity slowly taking control of me, of it controlling my thoughts, fears, ambitions, anxieties. Maybe once I become completely absorbed, a transfer would occur, and she would be free of it. I know I should leave, that I should open the front door, get in my car, and drive away from here. But I can't. I can't leave her. I've already lost control. I'm infatuated with her. Utterly infatuated.
That makes me want to cry, the ending. That is so creepy, Amy. God.
Yeah. That was a good story, though.
That was a really good story.
Yeah.
What the heck? It reminds me a little, the ending part where he's talking about like it transferring. It reminds me of the movie It Follows. Have you ever seen that?
No.
It's basically like a demonic STD.
Ew.
Like that is the premise. Like when you get it, there's this thing that follows you and it takes different shapes, and some of the shapes are really scary. Some of them are like people you know. So it's like tricky. It's whatever it thinks can get to you. And it like, in order to get it to not follow you anymore, you have to sleep with someone. But then if it gets them, it'll come back to you. So you want to like pass it.
Yeah.
And so it's an old movie, but I like just watched it for the first time like a few weeks ago, and it's a very similar premise, although clearly not about like having sex, but just like literally physically sleeping beside one another. That's really creepy.
Very. What a scary idea. You can't trust anybody.
No. No.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Somebody could be a demon.
Or have a demon in them. Gross.
Yeah. Yuck. Steven.
Oh God. All right. Steven. I know you're awake, Steven.
Come back here, Steven.
Come back here, Steven. Okay, are you ready for the last one?
Yes.
Okay, this is from Hee Ha Shofar. And it is called She's in the House. Find her. Ugh. If you live in Menifee, California, which I didn't even look up where that is, I have no idea, and there is a knock at your door tonight, don't answer it. More importantly, don't leave anyone in the house by themselves. Get your phone, call the police, and stay together. I'm writing this as I'm sitting in this police station questioning room as a warning, so that what happened to me last night won't happen to you tonight. I live on my own in suburbia, nice little neighborhood, the kind of place where kids will be playing out in the street with parents doing yard work when you pull into your driveway. That's exactly how last night began. My girlfriend and I pulled in and got out of the car. We waved to the kids and had a friendly chat with Mrs. Roop next door. This was the kind of life I'd always imagined, and at 20, I couldn't believe it had already happened for me. We went inside and started our evening. We made dinner. We love cooking together. There's a symmetry between us that just works. We ate, watched some TV downstairs, just a normal night. And once it was time, we went upstairs. She started doing her nightly routine girls always do in the bathroom, and I just laid in bed, reading Pen Pal for the 20th time. With the fan going and the water running in the bathroom, I almost didn't hear it. And I wished now that the fan was set to 3 instead of 2, because then everything would be different. But no, it was just faint enough for me to hear the sound over everything else. Knock, knock, knock. I reached over and clicked the fan off. I waited for a moment, listening. Knock, knock, knock. God damn it, I thought. I put my book down on the nightstand and got up. I grabbed my zip up off the chair and threw it on. As I walked out of the room, I could hear my girlfriend starting to say something, but I wanted to get rid of whoever was at the door first. I slumped down the stairs a little pissy, thinking that if this was another solicitor trying to sell me glass cleaner, I was going to have a fit. I zipped up the jacket as I flicked the light on next to the front door. I looked through the peephole, but it was pitch black. I flicked the outside light on. Still pitch black. I figured the light bulb had gone out again, as I've had problems with it before. Reluctantly, I twisted the deadbolt and opened the door. Nothing. No one was there. I poked my head out to look around. The yard and driveway were empty. Looking back, I made so many horrible mistakes. I stepped out onto the welcome mat. The streets were empty and silent, minus the hum from the streetlights. I scoffed and figured it was just the kids trying to play a prank. I turned and walked back inside. After relocking the door and heading back for the stairs, I started to have a feeling. Something just didn't feel right in my gut, and I knew that only one thing was going to put it at ease. Food. I walked down the hallway into the kitchen and flicked on the light. Opening up the fridge, I started to scan the shelves for something quick and easy to eat. I settled on one of those wafer peanut butter and chocolate bars that you can get at the dollar stores. I keep them in the fridge so they don't melt in my hand when I'm eating them. I peeled back the plastic wrapper, and as I'm taking my first bite, I noticed something odd out of the corner of my eye. The window above the kitchen sink was open. I'd never opened that window for the entire time I'd lived here. I thought back, trying to remember when that could have happened, and then I recalled her saying that she was feeling really hot while she was doing the dishes, so she must have just opened it to try and cool off. I walked over and slid it shut and finally made my way back upstairs. I walked back into the bedroom, and the water was still running. I went to the entrance to the bathroom. "Did you say something early?" I began to say, but stopped. The bathroom was empty. Water continued to pour out of the faucet, steam floating up, clinging to the mirror. I stopped the water and turned around to scan the room. She wasn't there. "Amanda?" I called out. No answer. I went to the walk-in closet. Nothing. I started to leave the room, but again, something caught my eye. I glanced at my nightstand, and on top of my book was a piece of paper. It was folded in half and set up, making it look like a little tent. I reached out and picked it up, and the first thing I obviously saw was the blood. It was a bloody fingerprint on the corner of the page. My heart started to race. Finally, my brain let my eyes pan over to read what it said, and even now I wish I hadn't. "She's in the house. Find her."
Ew.
I read it, those 6 words over and over. I looked around the room again, hoping to see Amanda just hiding in the corner, snickering like she'd pulled off an amazing prank, but the room was empty. I walked around the room, looking behind chairs, inside the shower, in the closet. I looked at the bed and felt like a 6-year-old again as I slowly knelt down to look underneath. My hands had apparently been getting sweaty because they kept slipping slightly against the hardwood floor. I bent down and lifted up the skirt of the bed. Nothing. Just a couple dust bunnies and an old pair of shoes that I keep meaning to throw out. I stood back up and started to become agitated. My mind didn't know whether this was a joke or if I needed to be genuinely terrified. "Amanda," I yelled, "this isn't funny anymore. Just come out." Silence. "Look, I'm really freaked out, so stop this." Nothing. I walked out into the upstairs hallway and quickly went through all the rooms. The spare bedroom, empty. Exercise room, empty. Other upstairs bathroom, empty. This is a big house. I ran downstairs and looked everywhere there too. It was as if she just vanished, and all that was left was this note. I figured that the only thing left to do was call the police, so I ran back upstairs and into the bedroom. The bathroom faucet must have had a leak as I entered. I started hearing faint drips of water. I went to the dresser to grab my phone, but it wasn't there, and neither were my keys or wallet. I spun and looked at my nightstand. They weren't there. I grabbed my jeans I wore that day, I was in sweats by now, and checked the pockets, empty. I threw the jeans on the floor in anger. I stood there for a moment without a clue of what to do. Drip, drip, drip. I stormed into the bathroom and twisted the knob. Drip, drip. I hit the faucet, getting pissed, but then I froze. There was no water in the sink, and the drip sounded farther away. I slowly walked back into the bedroom. Drip, drip. I moved around, trying to determine where it was coming from, and as I moved closer to the bed, it got louder. Once again, I slowly dropped to my knees and bent over next to the bed. My hand slowly reached for the bed skirt and lifted it up. For every drip, my heart pounded 50 times, it felt like. I sank my head down and looked under the bed, and then I saw it. A small pool of red about a foot in front of me, with more dripping down from above. I jumped to my feet and pulled the sheets off the bed. I slid my hands between the mattress and the box spring, and after a moment of hesitation, I flung the mattress up with everything I had. My throat closed instantly. I couldn't comprehend what was in front of me. My mind would only let me process the image one fraction at a time. At first, I just saw my box spring sitting inside my bed frame. Then I saw that there was a huge tear down the middle of the box spring. And then I saw Amanda inside the box spring, her beautiful face poking out from the tear. And then there was her neck, which was nothing but red. The final thing that my mind let me see appeared. It was right in the center, laying on her stomach, another note. I couldn't move. My tears were streaming down my face uncontrollably, but I didn't make a sound. My hands began to violently shake and my knees collapsed onto the edge of the box spring. I reached out and pulled Amanda's body up. My girl, my life, my everything. I wrapped my arms around her and started to scream. The note slid off her, hitting the box spring, and my hand slowly moved down toward the note, now barely even able to bend my fingers. I somehow managed to grasp the note and bring it up to my eyes. My vision was completely blurred from tears. I wiped them against my jacket sleeve and looked at the note. Again, that bloody fingerprint, but at this point, it could have been mine. Everything is hazy from those moments, but the words are forever burned into my memory. They're the reason I'm sitting here now at the police station, the reason I ran out of my house screaming for help. It said, "But where am I?"
Ugh. No.
So
No.
spooky.
I feel like that could enter the like urban legend. I don't know if that's the right word. Like the hook hand,
Yes.
the dog
It's
licking
like
the
the
hand.
dog licking one,
Yeah.
or the one about the roommate. Do you remember that
Aren't
one?
you glad you didn't turn on the light?
Yes.
That one. Yeah.
It reminds me a lot of that one, actually.
Yeah.
That because she's like wheezing in the night, I think, but not actually wheezing.
Right. Yeah. Yikes.
Ooh,
oh my god, that
big
is
yikes.
so scary. These
I
were
know, that
all
one really
so
scared me.
scary.
I know. We picked really scary ones.
we
Happy
did.
Labor Day.
The spookiest holiday of the year.
The spookiest holiday of the year. Well, we're pretty sure that the next holiday is Halloween, so we're gonna have to go even bigger for Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, have to do it to you.
Yeah. Start looking now.
Yeah,
Get
exactly.
The scariest one.
Well, shit. Well, we have another topic for you guys next week that was supposed to be today. So if we say anything in that one that you're like, that doesn't make sense chronologically, then no, you didn't hear that.
Yeah.
But yeah, you guys can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube at Girls Gone Spooky. Please rate and review the podcast wherever you listen. And then if you have your own spooky stories, fictional or non-fictional, DM them to us on social, or you can email us at girlsgonespooky@gmail.com. We'll be back next week and the week after that and after that and after that.
And after that. Mm-hmm.
And after that. And in the meantime, stay spooky.
spooky.
Bye.
Bye.